All right, so let's get started on cleaning this up and getting it built back together. Now this case too, of course, looks like it was dropped or something. The corner here of the case it's flaking off a little bit of the refinish, but honestly not a critical part. So the rest of it looks to be pretty well straightened and in good shape. So let's get started gutting it and getting this thing ready for action. Okay, first things first, let's get some of the stuff out of the way. Now this has some G-Skill DDR4. This is 4 gig each, it looks like. So we've got 16 gigs of RAM in this system. And a couple of loose sticks here. Okay, and we'll take out this cooler. And this appears to be an EVGA liquid cooler. Fairly small one, but it'll do the job, I'm sure. Of course, we've got the MSI graphics card. Take that out. And we've got the motherboard here, loose in place. And in this one, we've got a Core i7. This is a 5820K. So pretty nice processor, honestly. 3.3 gigahertz. Overall, looking at the board, it's just fairly dusty. It's got a little hair and stuff on it, but honestly pretty clean. So this is an EVGA motherboard, and as far as I can tell, it looks like all the broken glass is out of here. So I think we can be reasonably certain that we won't have to hit this with too much of a vacuum. I think we're probably safe to go ahead and just blast this out with some air. So again, using our duster, cheap little one off of Amazon. Okay, so pretty clean, honestly. I'm a little surprised. Take stock of what we got here. Here's our main board power. We've got our PCI power here, it looks like. SATA cables, USB. There's our switch. And I assume this is board power. So, I mean, at this point, I think we're reasonably safe to go ahead and start mounting the motherboard back in here. But I'd like to clean up the rest of the case first, just to make sure everything's out of the way. If we're blowing dust around, we're not getting anything trapped. All right, on the back side of the case here, we've got a Samsung solid state drive, and we do actually have a more traditional hard drive here. So I'm assuming this one's going to be bootable. I love that there is an open bracket for another solid state drive. That makes me very happy. And this comes off with just a thumb screw, so that'll be really, really nice. And this side, honestly, is pretty clean too, so we'll just give it a quick dust, and then we'll look at the power supply. Okay, our behind the hard drive bay here, pretty clean. Fan is actually not too bad. Should be able to dust that off pretty quickly. And the power supply actually is mounted right in behind this hard drive, and that looked pretty clean too. So a little bit of dust, and then I think we may consider just loading up another fan in here to give this a little more cooling power, since there's one side panel, and the glass, of course, is broken off the front, and we'll just go from there. So let's go ahead and get this brushed off and start reassembly. All right, so not too bad for debris. There was a little bit of glass there. I think one chunk might have fallen back in the case or so. Here we go, I just found it. So not too bad overall. Most of it I was able to get out at the recycler. So I think at this point we are ready to adjust that fan placement and go ahead and get started. All right, so since there's no front panel, any number of fans will do. Might as well fill up the whole bay. Now, of course, I don't have screws for this one, and these little fan screws sitting here kind of loose, but this fan's not really going anywhere. Worst case scenario, I'll put some bread ties in there and just hold it in place snug. But just to get spacing and sizing, and there's some RGB in there, so that's pretty cool. All right, nearing completion here. Just have to apply a little thermal grease to the processor and then hook up our liquid cooler. We got the RAM back installed. Now I don't recall exactly what the configuration should look like. I just kind of made it a pattern, but we may have to change that around when we get it booting. And of course we got to plug in the graphics card and do a little wire rearrangement down by this this fan. And that's pretty much it. We can kind of hook this thing up and see if it'll boot up. So really excited to see if this one will come working. All right, so here is the finished product of this EVGA gaming PC. Again, no front panel. I do have the back panel on to cover up the wires and hard drives, but ultimately everything's in really nice shape. So I'm hoping that this boots. We'll be exploring that in the next video. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video and you're not already a subscriber, do me a favor, please do hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, please drop me a like and a comment letting me know what you liked about it best, and I would be happy to respond to any ideas or criticisms you may have. And as always, thanks again for watching. Have a great night.